Today, we will get directly into some things that you're going to need to be prepared for when you enter the sport of boxing and you start boxing at elite levels in these tournaments or if you're in the pros. These are things that you're going to have to prepare for. And with that being said, today I'm going to allow you guys to see what's currently happening in the sport and explain to you in grave detail how do you can prevent some of these things from happening to you, which is sometimes as human beings we allow ourselves to get caught up in the hype of things. But I'm going to go into what's going on in the Ryan Garcia camp right now and really give you guys insight to what is actually happening and why is it that he's been in a distressed situation and what's actually going on behind those closed doors in boxing camps, because these things aren't as infrequent as you think. These are common things. Fighters break down in different type ways, and athletes, they show their other side. And this is one of the main reasons we've recently done a clinic based on what individuals you're going to need in camp to deal with all of these different scenarios, because no matter how good we think we are as trainers or coaches, we all are faced with things that we're not in areas that we're not strong. And so when you have the right people around you, then that'll allow you to deal with these situations when they come to fruition. So this is what I'm going to get into. I'm going to show you a snippet from Ryan Garcia. And then later on in the show, we're going to show you what's actually going on behind the feed in the Devin Haney scenario. And this has all just turned into a great debacle, but it really is not. It's showing what happens when you have deficiencies around you and how to fix those situations. So if you're interested in learning about preventing issues that you'll face in boxing, it's going to happen 100%. I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do and who you need around you so this thing won't get out of hand. So before I get started, I'd like to introduce myself to those who are not typically on this page or who are not familiar with me. My name is Eric A. Bradley, coach that is, and we teach boxing so that you won't have to go through the learning curve and the many years that it took for us to learn it, so that you can learn it in a short process time and have full comprehension of it. And we do this online. So this is what we do. And we want to make sure that you guys out here who are building up athletes, that you can use my four decades in the sport. You know how old I am now, but use that to your leverage. And that's kind of what we're going to do. Special shouts out to our sponsor, Jab Juice Consultants, showing all of our young entrepreneurs how to build their brand up so that they can have leverage in the market space when they're trying to get a name for themselves in the sport of boxing, more popularity and bigger purses. And last but not least, opportunities on those main event cards. That's kind of what you need. A little bit of guidance. And that's what Jab Juice does. So jabjuice.com. You can find them any bat time, any bat station. So on to the topic at hand. So here's a snippet from Ryan Garcia today.
I'm coming on here to explain what's going on. I'm not in possession of my phone. I can't get access to my Instagram. My cards are locked. And I'm just being weird. Hey guys, it's me, Ryan. I'm coming on here to explain what's going on. I'm not in possession of my phone. I can't get access to my Instagram. My cards are locked. And I'm just being real, I'm being real taken advantage. And I personally wanted just to send out a video to the people that love me and my fans and family that's concerned that I'm okay. I'm not dead. I believe in Jesus. All those are lies. And, they try to put me in jail. You're blocking my cards. I can't access my money. Nobody's hitting me back. I don't know what's going on, but just know I'm okay. Look.
Okay. So, as you can see, that's a lot to unpack. And what's going on actually is Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia were in a press conference the other day. And one of the things that happens to athletes in certain situations, this one particularly, is that you finally found out what you were actually up against. And the pressure is mounting, but also the social media status is mounting. And this is what happens when you start to gain leverage. And this is what Jab Juice does. Basically builds you up to a place where you could have that leverage in life and you can be in control over everything. But what happens if you're not prepared for that success, that level of success that Ryan Garcia is expecting or having right now? It's a double-edged sword because you need counseling to get it to that place where you are comfortable in your skin there. He's not comfortable in his skin now, so he's having to do a lot of antics. And I'm going to get a little bit further into exactly what's going on with him losing all access to everything that makes him who he is. And so when you have those situations going on, this individual and anybody who gets to that point and you get that kind of limelight, one thing we try to explain to the people that we work for over at Jab Juice is making sure that you understand what's to come. Because when you start to get tens of millions of people in front of you and then they start to know who you are, they start to connect with who you are, you start to get a lot of love and a lot of attention and some hate. But the difference is when you get all of that, it's almost like you're the little brother of all of those people. Everybody wants to coddle you. Everyone wants to tell you how much they love you. Everyone starts to reach out and they're there for you because you've built an audience. And that's what happens when you get star power. And so when you get that, what happens is it softens your spirit. It allows you to be more vulnerable. Hence is why you see him saying, I love God and I'm okay. They took this away from me. They took that away from me. And I'm going to explain what's going on with that as well. But when that is all coming around full circle, you're finding that a young man now has an audience to play off of because he's been disciplined because of the antics that he's expressed in social media, even at the press conference, coming intoxicated or out of sorts. Let's just say that I wasn't in the locker room with him and I wasn't hanging out with him before he went to the press conference, but I know he feels an adverse amount of pressure to put on a bigger event that he put on last year with him and Tank, who headed off boxing last year. They basically broke the glass and got it. Everyone in the ring, even Errol Spence versus Crawford, happened because Ryan Garcia and Tank put pressure on everybody to fight each other because they didn't even fight, for a particular spot in boxing. They were just fighting to make it a popular fight because most people know both of those individuals, especially in the mixed martial arts world and the casual fan. And Ryan has a extended viewership being associated with Jake Paul, who has an extended audience of people that watch based on because of the YouTube following. And Ryan also has a big following and went over there to YouTube and captured that. And so when you're finding all of that, that what that does is it brings pressure. So we have to have counseling on our consulting team. We have to make sure that things are in place. We have to have coaches in place. So when you are in these situations and it's a lot of pressure. He's put the pressure on himself because he felt like he can deal with it. But when you're in a very difficult situation that you don't have reps in, the levels of this thing is changing and more eyeballs are on him straight out of the gate this time. The pressure of this fight, you're fighting someone that you don't tower over because I feel like one of the reasons that he was so boisterous when he fought Tank is we felt he had stature over Tank. So he never felt intimidated. Now he sees Tank different because he's been in the ring with him and he understands what Tank can do. And now he knows that Tank brings all the smoke. But Devin is statured. He's strong. He's sturdy. He's a master boxer. He's a master mindsman now. And his father is also bringing the smoke from the side. It's a lot of pressure. And then he puts on this big event. And I'm going to get a little bit further into the Devin Haney and Tank situation. So for those of you who are interested in hearing the inside of that, stay tuned for a couple of minutes and we're going to dive directly into it. But right now, what I'm going to preface is what goes on when you do reach success. Success is something that you must be prepared for, and you must find someone who's already been successful in this area, because you need to know what they know, because success leaves clues. And if you do it right, you'll find that it brings you immense value to have someone to bounce the idea off of, or to, if you got to lean on somebody, you have someone with experience and they know exactly how to deal with it. And so unfortunately, right now, you're starting to see a debacle. And what does that mean? Well, I'm about to explain to you what's actually happening in Ryan Garcia's camp. Ryan Garcia has proven now not to be capable to cope with pressure. He's dealt with anxiety. I've been there. I understand what it feels like. I deal with it differently. But there are people who don't know exactly how to deal with it because they continue to climb a ladder. His audience continues to expand. So what happens is, to prevent this fight from falling all the way through and it going through the fence and becoming a total debacle, they're taking everything from Ryan. They're making sure that he cannot be the person that blows this thing up. There's a lot of money at stake in this fight. And if Devin has to fight someone else, it won't be the same purse. It'll, at least not on the pay-per-view end, because they get percentages of those pay-per-views. Now tell me, you want somebody messing with your bag? No. Do you want to market another fighter after all of these amazing antics to bring attention to it? No, you do not want this thing to fall through the cracks. So you have to start doing disciplinary actions. And that's exactly what's happening to Ryan, and he's pouting. Someone gave him a phone to put a message out there, and that's exactly what you just saw. And for those of you who tune in a little bit later, you can look at it at the end. I'm going to show it once again. But it's unfortunate that this has happened. But what this thing is doing is attracting record numbers of people, because the videos are going viral, just because Ryan Garcia was facing a real one at that press conference. Then he leaked the tape. And for those of you who did not see the leaked footage, I'm going to give you a snippet in the midst of commentary that was done by me, myself, Master Boxer. So take a look and tell me what you think. And I'm giving you some real behind the scenes of what goes on at this level of boxing in the trenches. Check it out. He's punishing him, right? This is exactly how this fight could play out in the championship rounds, because there's one factor that matters when you're fighting at this level in championship matches. And the reason why I know this is because I've been in 40 plus championship fights as a tactician and strategic planner. And the reality is, I know where this guy trains from, because that's exactly where we used to take our fighters whenever we were fighting at the championship level. And when you're fighting these guys of that caliber, there's one thing that they make sure that's intact that's going to stop that other guy. Because when you're fighting a guy that's a master boxer like Devin Haney, you have to make sure you take away his wheels. So the one factor that it matters that you have intact is raking them to both sides of the body. And that's exactly what he's doing right here. He's punishing them because he won't have gas in the tank. And hell, we just did a workshop on how to fight and make adjustments to any fighter at the championship level. Hell, you can see it. Just type the word legend. And that is what was going on. Devin Haney versus Tank. That fight footage was exposed when they sparred, and Tank beat the brakes off of Devin Haney. Now, I'm going to say it's sparring, but it does tell you something because, see, sparring is done in different facets. See, I can come in fresh and I can spar against somebody like Shakur Stevens fresh. Or Shakur Stevens is going to go through what we call the pendulum of boxing. That means he's sparring the better fighters in the eighth and ninth round of his sparring. They're just coming in. So it could have been that. He could have been in the tail end of his sparring session, and Tank could have came in fresh. You see, this is how we do when we work with our fighters in high level boxing. You get the best of both worlds. Sometimes you're the huckleberry, and sometimes you are the person that's going to get that front end work, and you get to rest on the back end. It's all depending on what we're searching for. And I was under the, like I said, the tutelage of one of the greatest minds and another one of the greatest minds. And you learn so much about all of that, all of the things that go inside of sparring at a high level. I've had conversations with Coach Kenny Porter, who was directly before the Errol Spence versus Sean Porter fight. We went back and forth. We confirmed that we'd help them in camp, and strategically we did. And a lot of the game plan that we applied there was some of what was done. But the thing about it is when you're boxing, it's a lot of real in-depth strategies that go on. And I think that what you saw was a part of what's going to actually happen late in that fight. I think Devin's a tremendous fighter, and I think he could totally figure the strategy out to get Tank into places that he's not comfortable. And that takes a lot because Tank is from the DMV. And in one of these videos that's coming up this week, you'll hear what's so unique about that area when it comes down to boxing. We're talking people here like Sweet Pea, great fighters like Sugar Ray Leonard. You just say those two, and you don't need to say anything else. But Hassan Rockman, heavyweight champion, Keyshawn Davis, and the list needs no further introduction because this is the main reason Floyd Mayweather used to catch the Greyhound from where he lives to Virginia to get that smoke with guys like Frankie Randall. And if you don't know Frankie Randall, if you go back in history, what you'll find is Frankie Randall was the guy who beat the Mexican monster, the real original Mexican monster in Chavez Sr. He was undefeated at 89-0, and Frankie Randall came and debunked him. And that's who Floyd Mayweather was up there getting that smoke with. Guys like Sweet Pea, guys like Frankie Randall, guys who were lineage based. When you are in those type camps, you have coaches like George Benton, who was my mentor's powerhouse partner in crime. You got these engines in boxing. That's why if you're ever going to get in the sport, you'll get goose pimples when you start to get into those vicinities, when you start to go away at camps and you're starting to sit in these cabins and it's all boxing going on. There's nothing other than boxing going on. I did it in the trenches in Baltimore, just sitting there during the Klitschko camp, just in the depths of it. 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. boxing, nothing but boxing on the TV from the 30s, the 20s, the turn of the 20th century, and just studying in the ring that greats like Oscar De La Hoya, Sugar Ray Leonard, Floyd Mayweather, Hassan Rockman all bled in that ring. Killers, people that we know today as legends in the sport, Hall of Famers, those who are etched in the Mount Rushmore of boxing, great coaches, great fighters, great lineages, great amateur programs, Olympians, all of those different spirits exist right there. in the DMV. And that's exactly where this kid is training. That's where he was bred from. Tank is just not a regular cat who got power. I'm trying to tell you, he'd probably be more dangerous if he didn't have power, because he never relies on it. If you watch any of his fights, it's all footwork and angles and slickness, because stature wise, he's always the shorter guy, except when he fought the baby bull. But the thing about it is, when he fights Devin Haney will be in the mirror now. And the difference will be experience, depth, and the will to knock you out in the 12th round. Hence is what isn't typical of a fighter of that stature like Tank. And this is what we have to pay close attention to as we go into those kind of fights, because they're coming. And when you look at someone like this is how we preface this thing when it comes down to the sport of boxing. I'm just not some guy talking about boxing. I sit on the calls with the greatest fighters ever, laced them up. And I've been in the trenches over 40 of these camps. You can't imagine what you took away. That's one of the main reasons that I have 30 books written on boxing, because there is so much. Not everybody has the wherewithal and the people around them to help make that happen. But I understand the depths of boxing, because not only am I a teacher and a professor, but I'm a big ass boxing fan, and I love to teach boxing. It took generations for me to become a master. And when you see all of this stuff that you guys are seeing, a lot of you for the very first time, with these debacles like what Ryan Garcia is doing. And Ryan Garcia decided to start a forest fire by putting out content of Devin Haney versus Tank. And let me table this conversation. Tank and Devin fought years ago in that ring. But one thing stands true. Neither one of them have taken a step back. So it could very well be 7 rounds to 3 in the favor of Devin. But he has to make it 6 more minutes. And that is a long ass time to be in the ring with a person that has the ring cachet as someone like Tank, because his corner could say, go get him, and he can go do it. You understand what I'm saying? This is real boxing, high level boxing at the highest level. And when you got that, and you got the depths of lineage around you like you do in the DMV, shout out to Coach Patrice Harris from DC, Barry Hunter from DC, Lamont Peterson, my cousin Weasel from DC. All of these cats, man, it's real. So, you know, do I say that Tank do that to Devin? I think Devin's a masterful boxer. I think he can get out of any situation. But it's always that thing that lingers between you and a fighter like Tank. There's nobody that you fought had the one punch ability to knock you out and the boxing cachet. So this is where this thing rolls around. So when I look at, as I take it back to Haney versus Garcia, Garcia does not have enough footwork to overcome what Haney will bring. They've been in the ring a total of 6 times already, and they're 3-3. But what I'm going to preface is Haney has clearly gotten better, a lot better. And, you know, I see Ryan trying. So that pressure will get to you. And one thing you got to keep in mind when you're going into these kind of things is you don't know everything about boxing. And it wouldn't have taken someone like myself that long to learn what I needed to know and make it to the professor status. And professor meaning there are 4 stages of these individuals: fighter, who learns from the trainer who learns from the coach who learns from the teacher, and the teacher who learns from the professor. I know because I was able to be in that tree. Adams, Bradley, Bradley, and the fighters that we had the opportunity to work with, which has been a multitude of great fighters, people who were dazzling, a lot of people that didn't get known, and a lot of them that were known and Hall of Famers. So just realize when you in this sport, and if you're competing and you are this person out here doing this, that there is no way you're going to know it all. So make sure you get in the same arena where the knowledge is, because there's so many things coming. We pray for the individuals who are out there that run into that pressure, because you got to know one thing. You got to know how to build your brand so that you do have leverage, but you have to have consulting so that you don't fly off the rails like what you see happening with Ryan right now. And we hope that everything is going to be good and turn out right, because there's just a lot of warnings other than he may not make it on April 20th to that fight based on whatever the cause may be. There's a lot of other warning signs. You know, you just don't show up at press conferences like that. There's no excuse for that. That behavior. So we hope that this is just a clear mission or a visual of what can happen if you don't have proper tutelage. So no matter who is it that you know and trust and love to be around, get in there, be with them, get under the tutelage, whatever they charge, whatever it costs, whoever's in your way, move them out of your way, whatever it costs, pay it. Just make sure you're prepared to do what you need to do, which is preparation is king. And there's a couple of things that you got to know when you get to this thing called boxing, that pinnacle, it comes with a price tag. And you got to make sure that you're preparing to pay the piper, or all you'll face is a debacle, because this is boxing. And the only way you get to the pinnacle and be able to raise that belt and solidify your place in history is embrace the process. Remember that. Embrace the process and don't play boxing. That's all I got. Hopefully this was a good little update and things like that that help you get more of a perspective of boxing. If it was, let us know down in the comment boxes if you appreciated learning a little bit more. And if you are not following, continue to follow for more if you want to continue to learn. And for those of you who want to actually see that video that we spoke of about the type of individuals and making adjustments, just be sure to type replay. And we'll show you a little bit of what it is that you're going to need to know about making adjustments in fights. Now, these things are typically held in our coach's corner, but what we will do is give you a 10-minute version of it, and you can see just what you need to know in the sport, because it's no game, and the ring will soon tell the truth about everybody. That's all I got. Coach Bradley signing out. Be blessed at Godspeed. And shouts out to my brothers in the School of Boxing. Peace.